is healthy. It's going to continue to work its way east, and it will carry that severe threat as well. So what I want to do for you guys is we'll zoom this out a little bit more, if I can, for us. See if we can work our way back to the south. Hey, Ryan, you want to jump on Max C for me? And it looks like my computer might have frozen on me here. If you want to try to move that around a little bit. We love computers, right? Well, let's talk about some of those storms there. You see from Hartland to Torrington, New Milford, also seeing that line of storms. A lot of heavy rainfall, and we've been watching this one area of rotation that is just outside. We'll let the computer reset here. Guys, can we take Max A for us? Can we take that full screen, Ryan? And we'll watch these storms continue to slide off to the east for us. Or Ryan, if you can take, there we go. So there you go, another line of storms there for us. That severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Hartford County, that continues as we go through sections of, well, Hartford. And then that will actually continue for us as we move through areas in central and then eventually eastern areas of Connecticut. We should be good over there. All right, let's give that another try. Thanks for resetting that, Ryan. It's technology. That can happen. Let's talk about some of those storms actually moving through Danbury. We'll get to Hartford in just a second. I'm not going to forget about you guys, but right now you guys are still, that storm is still off to your west. I want to see how those winds are doing closer to Ridgefield for us. I know we're going to get into the gap of the radar coming off of Long Island there, but you can see, yeah, from Danbury stretching down through Ridgefield, that's a good line of wind force there. So if you're in Ridgefield, let us know what you're seeing right now. Let's see if we can see any potential wind speeds for us there. Let's see if this wants to. So about 35 miles per hour there. Yeah, so there's going to be a sharp gradient of wind speed. You'll notice a change in direction there, and a good burst of wind not out of the question for us there. Not severe strength, but something that's still worth paying attention to for us. We'll zoom back out through central northern sections of the state. There's a little bit of that rotation that we were talking about not too long ago. The couplet looked a little bit better when it was in western areas of the state. Now that's getting closer. That's right along the Route 8 corridor there. We'll zoom in a little bit more. We'll see that's really falling apart there. So that's good news for us. But right along Route 8, Marsh Road, Campville Hill Road as well, you're seeing just a little bit of that rotation. But the good news is it's definitely not as strong as what we were seeing earlier. So we love when that happens for us. Let's zoom back out and let's see if we've had any storm report, any damage reports across the state. We'll get to that in a second, but take a look at this. That is a lot of lightning with these storms too. Of course, lightning isn't a parameter to determine if a thunderstorm is severe or not, but this just goes to show a lot of lightning there. Let's see if I can get a good little query going. How much lightning have we seen? Over 200 strokes of lightning with this line of showers and storms. So even though lightning is not a parameter that would determine if things are severe or not, that's definitely still a hazard for sure. So a lot of lightning associated with that storm. That's something that we'll keep an eye on as well. Let's go back to our velocity signature there. So definitely still noticing a little bit of a rotation signature there for portions of western Connecticut. Again, this is just south of Torrington, right along Route 8 there. A good burst of wind, still a possibility. This is going to work its way getting closer to Route 222, that's the state highway, and then getting closer a little bit further off to the east here. So we dragged this further back. Route 4 to Burlington. This is eventually going to get closer to you guys there as well. And we'll see how that hail signature is doing as well, because that was something that we were paying attention to there. Looks like the hail signature has actually decreased, but you can tell where we have some of those stronger storms. Of course, the one in Springfield, the one just south of Torrington, and then we go just outside the Danbury area, and then outside of Ridgefield as well. So you can see those the line of showers and storms there. That's all going to work its way further off to the east. We'll see if we can. I was going to put a track on it, but I actually don't know if that is updated for us here. Ryan, would you be able to update the track numbers for us? Or is
yep, they're all good. They should be good. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So let's try to track this out for us for everyone. Just just a rough estimate here of a timetable for us here. So Hartford getting closer to about 3:30 for us. Waterbury, that's going to be a little bit sooner in the next closer to about 10 minutes or so. You guys are going to notice that rain really start to get going. If you're along the shoreline, getting closer to New Haven, that threat's going to be closer to about 4 o'clock. So you guys have a little bit more time there. And then, of course, eastern areas of Connecticut, that won't be for places like Windham, closer to about 5 o'clock, and then Killingly not until after 5. So we'll have to see, especially for you guys in eastern Connecticut, how that severe threat holds up. You can see just to the north of Windham County as you look places like Sturbridge, and then off into central Mass as well. They have that severe thunderstorm warning continuing off of what was once a tornado warning as well. So they'll pay close attention to that storm. And then as we go through this evening, we'll see how that line really starts to shape up for us. But there's been a good bit of instability in there. If you walk outside right now, if it's not raining where you are, you're going to notice a couple of things. Well, we got some filtered sunshine in some spots now. The skies are definitely starting to darken up a little bit, but it's very, very muggy. And that mugginess acts as jet fuel for these storms. They really get to fire up. The other thing that you may not notice, we have a little bit of wind shear going on. So that's essentially when you have a change in wind speed with height and also direction with height. So the wind speed might be coming, let's say, out of the south at ground level. If you walk outside, it might be coming out of the south, but higher up into the atmosphere, it's actually coming in out of the west. And it's that difference that ends up making a little bit of rotation there. So that's something that we've been paying close attention to as well. The good news is right now, a lot of these storms don't have just enough strength, at least the rotation bit of it, not strong enough to warrant a tornado warning. So that is great news for us. And in fact, that little couplet that we're keeping an eye on looks like it's just continuing to fall apart for us. But we'll play this out for you. And you see really the last few frames there. Not too much change, but we'll keep an eye. It's still something worth keeping an eye on for us there.
You got a little, Anthony, it looks like a little notch there over Harwinton heading to Burlington.
Sure.
Not much, but there's something there. And then I think we're going to have to watch the southern half down near Danbury, moving into Reading and Weston.
Yeah,
nothing imminent, but something worth keeping an eye on.
Definitely, because we were talking about that before, Ryan. Just that, not a severe kind of wind field with that, but definitely still something that you'll see a little increase in those wind gusts for sure. Let's see.
If that starts bowing out, Anthony,
yeah,
that wind is going to be sort of perpendicular to the radar beam soon, so we're not going to get a good
best
signature on radar. So we may, even if the wind on radar is not looking terribly impressive, still could be damaging in real life. And
for sure. And this is the line that Ryan and I are talking about here. So just outside of Danbury, you can see I've kind of drawn just a brief line on that. All of this works its way a little bit further off to the east there. So if this line really gets its act together a little bit more, if it can bow out, that's where we can really end up seeing those stronger wind gusts for sure. Ryan, what else were you saying?
Yeah, take a look up in Harwinton right now. Harwinton-Burlington line. It's pretty subtle, and I'm not sure.
It looks a little better on the. I can see it a little bit more on the Long Island radar.
Yeah, check out the velocity on from OKX.
Okay, sure. Let's switch that over there.
It's right on the Harwinton-Burlington line, right over Johnny Cake Mountain. And if you zoom in,
look, and then it just actually updated that Boeing line that we were just talking about. So that now has a severe thunderstorm warning on it as well. So now this includes Bridgeport, New Haven. You guys are now under a severe thunderstorm warning. If you're in New Milford, they've actually clipped that severe thunderstorm warning, so you guys are now out of that there. We'll go back, though, to the storm that Ryan and I were talking about. Get a closer look there. Let's see. I want to switch this back, see if we can see anything. Yeah, it's very, like you said, Ryan, it's pretty subtle.
Yeah, but there's a couple. If you look at velocity, there's a couple 70, 80 knot pixels there.
There is, yeah.
I can't tell if it's good data or not.
See if I play this out. I know it's going to move pretty quick for us. A little bit. So that if that ends up kind of verifying there a little bit, that would be definitely closer to Burlington. And it looks like the newest frame is in, Ryan, so those went away. Okay, good. So that's good news. Switch this back. Let's see if if we notice anything different here. Yeah, so there is just a little bit. It's hard for you guys to see at home because the warning line is kind of right over it. Let me see if I'll zoom this in just a little bit more. If we can try to like tell. Yeah, so there it is. So there's that little bit of a notch. If I can try to draw it, there we go. Not the best arrow, but you can kind of get the general idea there for sure. Kind of works its way in, tries to spin a little bit, but if I switch this over, watch what happens when I switch this over to our velocity, and it's just not the best signature for us. Let's see if I can zoom this out a little bit more. Let's see. We're also keeping an eye on a couple of the Hartford cameras as well. Looks like we're going to start to see those storms moving in the distance there. Even if we don't have the best rotation signature, there's still definitely a good burst of wind associated with that. So if you're in Burlington, essentially to Bristol, just keep an eye out for that storm as well. We'll switch this back. Yeah, so right now Bristol, not raining there. It's starting to have just a little bit more of a bow to it, slightly. So we're talking about some of those gustier winds. So that's definitely something worth keeping an eye on there. But we still have a couple of other severe thunderstorm warnings to talk about. So that new one that was issued down from Bridgeport to New Haven, let's bring up the latest on that one. And there you go. So it looks like they did clip a couple other ones just outside of Torrington. So if you're to the west of Torrington, right now it looks like your primary severe threat has come to an end. But we'll move this further off to the south a little bit there. So also under that severe thunderstorm warning, Meriden to Wallingford, Hamden as well. And we'll try to focus this back down just outside of Ridgefield there a little bit. You can see that line of showers and storms. See how this looks on velocity. So you can definitely tell we have that a little bit of that bowing segment, just a little bit there. But like Ryan mentioned before, the way the radar is configured, it's going to be a little bit hard for us to see with the best detail, but you can still get the overall picture, that line that's kind of bowing out there, and some gustier conditions associated with that right on the other side. You can see those brighter areas of green. That's going to work its way further off to the east as well. We'll zoom in on this. We get some towns that will pop up here for us as well. See if I can clear that line out of the way. So yeah, so that just went through Reading there. Easton, between Reading and Easton on Route 58, seeing some of that line of wind there. That continues if you're in Easton, north of Easton up to Route 25, Monroe as well. And then you take 25 there out, getting closer to Newtown, eventually seeing some of those gustier conditions as well. So that's something that we'll also keep an eye on. Ryan, anything else kind of popping?
Just over Burlington.
It keeps coming in and out. Yeah.
I just messaged the Weather Service to get their take on it because it looks like, and I even looked at spectrum width too, and it's showing that there's something there. So if I was in Burlington, Avon, Farmington, heading down Route 4 over toward Unionville, I would be in a safe spot right now. This could produce a tornado, I think, at some point. Just the way it looks at the moment. No warning on it yet, but we're watching it carefully for you.
Okay, yeah, and let's see if we can switch this over to a different. Switch this over to another version of our velocity. You can see it a little bit, but it just keeps coming in and out for us there. Yeah, now the pixels are gone again. Yep. So it's just something.
I think it's just very small, so it's hard for for those gates to resolve it.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very localized. So we'll zoom in here a little bit more. So Burlington, so on Rock Road, Sawmill Road, Route 69 going south. Definitely the potential that rotation that Ryan's talking about there is more Cornwall Road. And then as we continue through the center of Burlington there. But the focus is going to be closer to Rock Road, Mountaintop Pass as well, Sawmill Road, like I mentioned, Route 4. All of this working its way further to the east. So getting closer to the center of town there in Burlington.
Pretty good notch on reflectivity too.
Yeah, I'm going to zoom this back out a little bit. Come on. Yeah, no, for sure, because you can actually see. So I'll make this a little bit centered in the screen for you guys. So essentially what we're looking at is this notch right here, essentially. I'm not the best drawer, guys, so apologies. But this is essentially where we're looking, right about there. Potential definitely gusty winds, but that little bit of rotation associated with that cell as well. Switch this back over to velocity. I'm also going to check, see if the hail signature, okay, that's a little bit weak there, so maybe dime size, pea size hail as a potential. I'm really curious to see how this looks here too. So this is looking at the dual pole radar, so our correlation coefficient. This is what we like to use when you're talking about the potential for debris, anything like that. And anytime you get more of those yellows that tend to pop there, that's usually a good sign that we could have some hail there as well. And if it's a more compact area, that could also be another sign that maybe even a weak tornado. And I'm not seeing the best signature there, so we'll keep looking through the data. We'll go back to our velocity signature as well. Yeah, so like Ryan and I have been talking about, those levels just keep jumping kind of in and out a little bit there too.
35-knot wind gust in Danbury from that little bow.
From that
so that's
line,
about
yeah.
40 miles an hour.
Yep.
So definitely looks like some, a damaging wind threat. Newtown, Monroe, Trumbull, Shelton, and then heading to the valley from there.
Definitely. You can see where that line is set up right now. So just to the north of the Merritt there, and just outside of Trumbull as well. We'll zoom in a little bit more here. So this is Route 25, where that meets up with Route 111, Monroe. And then between essentially Reading and Monroe is where we're seeing some of those stronger gusts right now. And you can see how that works its way further to the south. Georgetown, another one that is kind of already seeing those gustier winds there. I'm curious, Ryan, if you could just take a look at the Bridgeport camera, if we can try to move that around as well. I'm not sure how that looks. That could be something worth keeping an eye on there. We also will keep an eye on our New Haven camera. Probably not going to see New Haven right now, but if we can take a look at Bridgeport, and we're just going to need to swing that all the way to the right a little bit there. So that view is looking off toward Long Island Sound. If we can swing that off to the northwest. Yep, we're going to spin that camera in just a second, but that's going to, should show some more ominous skies there for sure. We'll get that camera back in just a second there, but you can definitely see essentially from 84 all the way down to where we have the Merritt. That's where we can see that good line of some gustier winds for sure. So that's worth keeping an eye on as well. I also want to see, we'll switch that back to reflectivity. So this is back to our regular radar, but you can kind of see that bowing segment there. And again, that just shows our line that just drapes all the way back down. Roughly there. Fortunately, I guess it just doesn't like me drawing today, guys. So there it goes. So that's generally that line of storms there. So this eventually will get closer and closer to Route 8, so Ansonia, all the way down Route 8 where it meets up there in Bridgeport. Let's take a live look at Bridgeport right now, and you can definitely see more ominous skies there as we look off to the northwest. So Bridgeport, you guys are going to be up next for that line of storms. Looks like the bulk of the heavier wind threat is actually going to be potentially off to your north. So that is some good news for you guys in Bridgeport, but still kind of worth keeping an eye on here, especially if you're just off to the west of Ansonia. So places like Monroe, Newtown looks like it's raining at a really good clip right now for you guys. That heavy rain will work its way off to the east as well. So Monroe, it might just be starting to rain right now, but give it some more time and that will be moving through your neck of the woods there. So that's going to be worth keeping an eye on for you guys. We zoom everything back out. Let's see how some of those thunderstorms are doing closer to the Waterbury area. As between Waterbury and Torrington as well. So it looks like the heaviest of the rain is actually ended now in Torrington, so that storm threat is now passed to your east, but we'll still keep an eye Bristol to Burlington. Let's switch back over. Yeah. From
the Boston radar, nice, looks like it's starting to bow out a little bit there.
Okay.
Over Burlington, some decent inbound winds showing up over Harwinton, so wouldn't be surprised if we start to get some of those stronger winds. Avon, Farmington, West Hartford might be an area to watch here. as this moves forward. Same deal down toward Newtown and Monroe. So those might be the two clusters that are sort of most at risk for damaging winds.
Yeah, I'm trying to switch this over to Boston. It's a little bit tricky to do on here, but you guys can, Ryan, would you mind taking this full screen? That'll make it a little bit easier for everyone to see at home. So this is switched over to the Boston radar there, so you can just see how much more bright those colors are. So we look through places just outside of Hartford there, so like what Ryan was mentioning, where we have just a little bit of those brighter colors there. That's something that we'll keep an eye on. If those winds can just get a little bit further to the closer to the ground, that could end up causing maybe even some damage there as well. So worth keeping an eye on. Of course, you can see sections of Massachusetts. They definitely still have a pretty good wind. You can definitely still see just a strong signature there as well. We'll take a closer look back at home for us. Yeah, let's see. You can see a little bit of that rotation there. Let's clear some of that out of the way. We'll go back. Let's see here. Wind. Keep it on the wind.
Yeah, it literally just moved through it. Just make a couple calls too.
Yeah, so Burlington down to Bristol, that will move closer to Farmington there. Avon to Farmington. Just continuing there, and then, like Ryan mentioned as well, eventually portions of West Hartford. Simsbury looks like you guys are definitely talking about some heavier rain as well. The wind threat for you guys doesn't look quite as bad. And then just to the north of Hartford, where you have some of the rain starting to fall. Windsor to Enfield, looks like it's already starting to rain a little bit there at Bradley. All of this working its way a little bit further off to the east. So again, that's something that we'll pay close attention to as well. I'm noticing too, Ryan, that we're starting to get another little line of showers and storms forming in upstate New York there, just outside of Connecticut. It doesn't look anything too serious right now, and I would imagine much of the energy has already been used up by that existing line of storms. So we'll see what they do. But
it's 65 in Poughkeepsie right now.
Oh, yeah, so they're down.
They're in the cold pool.
Yeah. So still the potential, if you're behind this line of storms, the potential for a few things to fire up, but it looks like this line is going to be our primary severe threat force. Then as we go through later on, still a few more scattered showers, definitely a possibility there, but still worth keeping an eye on. Ryan, anything else kind of jumping out at you? It didn't look like the storms up by Enfield to Hartford. That one severe thunderstorm warning was doing all that much as far as the winds.
Yeah,
the winds go. It's really that one that we were looking at near Burlington, and then down toward getting closer to Monroe, that I'm really keeping a closer eye on there.
Yeah, I've got that definitely damaging wind signature heading toward Burlington and Farmington, and we're going to pause here for a second, Anthony, and coming up at 3:30. Join our friends over the air. So, gonna give us 1 second here.
Cool.
Bear with us.
This is an NBC Connecticut Storm Tracker alert.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Hanrahan. We are keeping an eye on this line of thunderstorms moving through the state. It is a pretty impressive line stretching from Springfield, Massachusetts, all the way down toward New York City. And this line of storms has produced some reports of damage and some reports of hail through Litchfield County. I want to show you where it's going, and then we're going to talk about what this storm is capable of producing. So here's the line, basically just north of Hartford, down through Hartford, over toward Waterbury, and about to move across the Housatonic River. It's moving east at a pretty good clip. It's moving east at about, let's say, 30 miles per hour. So New Britain, Hartford coming up soon, New Haven 356, Middletown 409, East Hampton 424, 440 in Haddam, 454 in Windham, and then about 5 o'clock out toward eastern Connecticut. Now there's really two areas in this line. So we've got a severe thunderstorm warning from Tolland County down through Greenwich pretty much. So it's a good chunk of central Connecticut. But there's two areas that we are monitoring carefully because those areas have a more heightened risk for strong damaging winds. That would be the main threat here. Let's take a look at what's going on. This is one area, and this is about to move into Hartford and the immediate suburbs to the west. So coming out of Burlington, down the mountain, along Route 4 into Unionville, down through Bristol, heading toward Plainville, right along 72. So basically between 72 and 44, this is an area that could be producing some pretty strong winds, potentially up to 60, 65 miles per hour, strong enough to take down some trees and power lines. As we take a look at the wind velocity here, you can see there's a sort of a broad area of rotation, but I do expect some strong winds along Route 4 in Farmington, right from Unionville, right along the river there, through downtown. And this is going to be heading into West Hartford shortly. It should be over us here at the station in moments. And there is a damaging wind threat here, maybe a little bit of small hail. So that's one area we're watching. The other area we're watching is down in Fairfield County, heading into New Haven County right now. I'll give you a closer look at that. It's this area here. I'll switch this over into our regular mode here to show you. It's this area here, moving just across the Housatonic River through Oxford, down into Seymour, Ansonia, Derby, and then continuing south into Monroe and Shelton. I know this is an area that is easily spooked, and understandably so when severe weather moves in, but there is the potential here for damaging winds heading into Seymour, heading into Naugatuck, and then east from there, so Prospect, maybe as far south as the Mount Carmel section of Hamden, mainly north of the Wilbur Cross, Bethany as well. This is the line of thunderstorms here that could be producing some damaging winds. So again, we've got those two areas of concern, at least of heightened concern, where there's a higher threat for damaging winds. Farmington, West Hartford, New Britain, Plainville, heading toward downtown Hartford right here, and then also right here heading into the Naugatuck Valley. Those are the two areas where we are most concerned with damaging winds. I'm going to put this into motion for you. You can watch that line of thunderstorms moving in from the west. Here it is. This was the look about an hour ago, and there you go. You can see the trend for the storms moving to the east. At least right now, only a low risk for a tornado. Thankfully, we had a tornado warning earlier, but I don't see any areas that are particularly showing particularly strong rotation. We'll have to keep an eye on that. There was a little spike over Harwinton and Burlington right along Route 4 on Johnny Cake Mountain that had us concerned for a little bit ago, but that has since weakened. So potential for some damaging winds heading toward downtown Hartford, heading into the Naugatuck Valley as well. Those are the two areas. But anywhere along this line, you've got the potential for strong damaging winds up to and over 60 miles per hour, enough to take down some trees and power lines. So as these storms approach, we've got a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain. Stay indoors. That's the safest place to be as these storms approach. And as those storms move in, you want to stay away from windows as best as possible, because I do think we're going to see some trees and some power lines coming on down. So the odds of getting hit at your specific house, thankfully, pretty low, but it is a risk. So just be safe out there this afternoon. We've got a lot of outdoor activities, and thankfully, once this line moves through, we've got some better weather moving in from the west. At least the severe weather threat will come to an end. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for just about all of Connecticut, but warnings along this line. We'll keep you posted all afternoon right here on NBC Connecticut. And right now we've got streaming coverage that's going on. If you've got your phone on you, check out the NBC Connecticut app. You can watch us live right there. We're going to stay on the air with you as these storms move through Connecticut. We'll stay with you on the air for the severe weather threat. So keep the NBC Connecticut app handy. We're going to be on air as necessary. If you're watching us on NBC Connecticut, we'll keep you ahead of this storm every step of the way. We'll now return you to regularly scheduled programming, but on the NBC Connecticut app and NBCConnecticut.com, we've got streaming coverage that is ongoing. Join us there. All right, we are watching streaming coverage here on the NBC Connecticut app, NBCConnecticut.com, and streaming on your favorite streaming platform. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Chief Meteorologist Ryan Hanrahan, along with Meteorologist Anthony Carpino, watching this line of storms moving through. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for most of Connecticut right now, at least most of central Connecticut, for these thunderstorms, and a couple areas that have us concerned with the potential for damaging winds. One area is the Hartford area, and if we can throw up the Hartford camera, that would be great, just so you guys know at home. Our director is named Ryan, just like I am, so we're saying Ryan quite a bit in the course of this coverage this afternoon. So Ryan Hill, thank you very much. That's the look here in Hartford. Obviously a pretty ominous sight looking to the west. That's that storm that's moving through the Farmington Valley. And Anthony, if you don't mind, if you could keep an eye on the box radar, let's just keep an eye on those velocities heading into Hartford. For sure. Curious to see if we get a spike. So that's the line that's moving through. And then we've got another one to the south. We can throw up the Bridgeport camera at some point. We've got the Bridgeport camera showing the storms as they approach. And yeah, that's the storm. And Meg, if you don't mind, if you could scoot that to the right, just a smidge. So we're looking to the northwest. You can see there's the Port Jeff Ferry. And yeah, that's the storm. That's good. Perfect shot there. So we're looking up from the harbor up toward I-95. Bass Pro Shop is there on your right. You can see the Port Jeff Ferry on the left. And that's the storm that's moving through portions of the Housatonic Valley, and a nice cloud-to-ground lightning strike there. It looked like that one was just over Trumbull, just to the north of the Merritt. All right, let's go back over to live Doppler radar, and we'll show you what's going on. And again, a couple areas that we're watching. We've got this line of thunderstorms moving through Avon and Farmington. The potential for some severe weather with this, strong gusty winds, a possibility as this moves on through. And some sign of some weak rotation here in Farmington, but nothing that has me overly concerned. The main threat, though, is going to be straight line winds. So if you think about it, it doesn't really matter which way the wind's blowing. If the wind's blowing in a circle, it would be a tornado. When the wind's blowing straight, it's straight line winds. But wind is wind, so it doesn't really matter, and it's enough to cause some damage, and that is going to be a threat here. Farmington into West Hartford and Hartford. So West Hartford, and this will be over the station momentarily. We are right here, right there. That's NBC Connecticut. We're going to get this storm moving through. Looks like the core of it sort of going right over us. So over toward Batterson Park in New Britain, and then Newington and Fenn Road. They're central. CCSU's right there. So Newington heading up New Park over toward Troutbrook Drive, West Hartford Center. You're next with this storm. And if it holds together, should head right toward Hartford. Maybe the worst just south of downtown, maybe toward the South Meadows. And continuing east from there, Weathersfield, here's Weathersfield Avenue. There's 91, end of the Berlin Turnpike. And this is the line of storms we've got moving through. So a couple areas that we're watching carefully with sort of a heightened risk for severe weather. One right here, about to head toward the interchange of Route 9 and 84. And then also now heading into the Naugatuck Valley, right along Route 8, moving through Seymour, heading up toward Naugatuck, and this, again, continuing to the east. Severe thunderstorm warnings with this line of thunderstorms. We've seen some reports of some gusty wind with this storm, some reports of damage. We've seen some hail reports as well, although the hail threat has come down quite a bit. Just double check that to make sure it hasn't changed in the last couple seconds here. And yeah, nothing really jumping out at me here. One area where you could see a little bit of hail, let's zoom in here. This would be right with that storm that's heading through Farmington and Avon, right along Route 4, maybe a little bit of small hail, but gusty winds, your main threat there with this storm. We'll go back over to check out the wind velocity here, and yeah, I think it's a decent looking wind signature that's moving on through. So some strong gusty winds, enough to take down some trees and power lines, moving through Farmington, heading into West Hartford, and then up into Avon, and then continuing to the east from there. So Hartford, Newington, Weathersfield, Windsor, then should hold together into East Hartford and Manchester. That's where the storm is right now. And let's take a closer look down to the south. I'm going to give you a storm track here. Let's storm track this one for you. So this heads into Hartford. There we go. So again, right over West Hartford right now, moving to the east, a little north of due east. Hartford in moments. Weathersfield very soon as well. Windsor 3:55, Manchester 4 o'clock, Vernon 4:05, Tolland 4:19, Mansfield 4:29, Willimantic 4:32, Windham at 4:38 from this line of storms. Let's go outside with that live look from Hartford. If we can check out the camera we've got. We're looking from East Hartford toward downtown. Nice looking shelf cloud there, and that shelf cloud is a good indication that the leading edge of that is going to give you some strong gusty winds.
And that's else that I was looking at too, Ryan.
Yep.
So looking at that Boston radar a little bit, not the highest kind of wind spikes that we've seen so far today, but definitely still some gusty winds. The Weather Service is going to continue that severe thunderstorm warning until 4 o'clock for Hartford as well as for Tolland County there for us. Looks like they did get rid of the severe thunderstorm warning that was in northern sections of Hartford County. So places like Heartland, Granby, you guys are now out of that warning. So we're just continuing to see that line get closer, move through the state, moving off to the east there as well. But definitely still essentially right over us here in West Hartford, Farmington line. It is pretty ominous outside.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at the northern part of that storm, I think I'll zoom in here on Max A. So you mentioned that warning was canceled for far northwestern Connecticut, and the storm's not really doing a whole lot up there. Winds are locks, gusted to about 31 knots, about 35 miles an hour. So, nothing terribly strong. I think it's that band to the south that's heading toward Hartford. This is the one that's got the severe weather threat with it.
Yeah, and we were seeing the live picture from Hartford. It almost had like almost a teal tint to it a little bit there as well. And you see that rain band just further off, just outside of downtown Hartford.
And if we can pop that back up, and maybe we can throw up the Yardigos camera as well. But that's the line of storms moving in. That's that shelf cloud, and that leading edge there is where you've got the potential for some strong damaging winds. Just looking at the radar again, as you mentioned, Anthony, nothing's really jumping out at me for a strong wind threat. We should see it pretty clearly here. So we'll see if that develops. But the Hartford area right now, that's the strongest storm in the state from what we can see here. It looks like the southern part of the line, too, is beginning to weaken as well. Does not look nearly as impressive. We had a pretty good wind signature in Fairfield County, but that's sort of fizzling out as well, which we like to see. I'm checking out the Eversource outage map here. It gives us a pretty good idea of where these storms went and where the storms were the strongest. And it looks like there's a decent amount of trouble spots and power outages across portions of Salisbury and Canaan from the storm that moved through there. That was the storm earlier that had the tornado warning. Then another little cluster of damage reports near Washington over toward Marbledale, New Preston, and then heading up into Kent. That's another area where we've seen some damage reports that are a bit more tightly clustered. And also, it does look like there's a number of issues in, looks like Harwinton as well. So all the places that we've been talking about, the town names that we've been sort of rattling off here, those are the areas that we have more reports.
And Ryan, it looks like there was also, I don't know if you mentioned this already, down in Stamford, 60-mile wind gusts measured at about 50 feet high at the Riverside Yacht Club there. So right on the water, right on the Stamford-Greenwich line.
Yeah. Hopefully the yachts were back in port as that moved through.
Going to make it tricky for sure.
Yeah, that's a good wind gust for sure. So I'll put this into motion for you here again. We've got the potential for severe weather in the Hartford area. If we can, let's throw Hartford back up. We've got that dark-looking, ominous cloud about to move in, and Meg is doing just yeoman's work back there in the sock. If we could, maybe we'll do a little bit of a tour with this. Maybe if we can move it to the right just a smidge. Let's get like a subtle pan there. There we go. So you can see that storm. That's the storm producing some strong winds as it moves into the Hartford area. The potential there for winds strong enough to take down some trees and power lines. It's going to be a nice-looking storm there over Windsor. Now we're looking to the north. We're looking from East Hartford across the river up toward the North Meadows. And check that out. That's almost gives you almost like a little bit of a wall cloud kind of vibe there, Anthony, in Hartford. You can see
it does. No, when you look north of the Bulkley Bridge there.
Yeah, that's the infamous beaver tail, which is showing where you've got a lot of air that's getting sucked in to the storm, and then it's rising, and that's right over Windsor. Some lightning there as well.
Something else that I'm noticing too, Ryan, when you're looking at that downtown Hartford camera, look at the Founders Bridge. You can see that wind direction there, pretty much right out of the south. Yep. But we know a lot of these storms are essentially moving west to east, so there's definitely still a good bit of wind shear going on. And I believe that severe thunderstorm warning in Hartford still has that tornado possible tag on it.
I believe it does. Let's, if we can, Ryan, switch over to the GOATS cam from Duncan Park. That's another view of it. So same storm here, just a slightly different view. So we're looking due north up toward the north end. It's what I call an SLC, scary-looking cloud. Nothing really to worry about besides a strong wind. Doesn't look like it's producing a tornado. Well, I don't see any rotation there, which is good for sure. But again, some strong winds, certainly a possibility as that storm moves through. We'll put a storm track on it for you. I'm just checking one more thing here behind the scenes. All right, if we can go back over to Max A. We can take that for you. Let's show you where we've got the storm moving now. It's moving again off to the east And this is the potential for some severe weather as this thing moves on through. Strong gusty winds. Right now it's over Hartford and Bloomfield, heading into Windsor, East Hartford, South Windsor, and Manchester. Next with this storm, Manchester 358, Ellington 405, Tolland 413, Coventry 419. That's the storm as it moves on through. I just got a report from our friend John Bajoni, who's a meteorologist up in Burlington. Was reaching out to him to see if he has any reports of damage, because we had that brief, more concerning radar signature, and he goes, so far just one dead tree down. That's what we like to hear, just one dead tree. His peak gust there, and he's got a really well-sighted weather station up on the hill, peak wind gust of only 30 miles per hour. So that's good news that we haven't seen any more damage reports there coming in. And again, Hartford on north, that's where this storm is the strongest. It looks like the southern flank of this has weakened quite a bit. Just looking at some of the power outage numbers coming in, not a tremendous amount of them. North Canaan, hardest hit, about 26% of North Canaan without power, about 16% of Canterbury. That must be unrelated to weather, because Canterbury's quiet right now. At about 13% of Canaan, about 4% of Harwinton without power, and about 3.5% of the town of Washington. So probably some damage moving through portions of Litchfield County with the storm. And now we're watching the stronger wind potential moving through West Hartford, moving into downtown Hartford. And I'll zoom in for you, give you a closer look here. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's look at the zoom function. There we go. So there's leading edge of the strongest winds moving through Hartford right now. Portions of West Hartford, Bloomfield, Windsor, East Hartford, South Windsor, and again Manchester sort of next. And it's right here. It's right on the leading edge of all this. That's where you've got the potential for the strongest winds, and that's moving through the Hartford area right now. We can flip over actually to the Hartford camera and show you. Either camera works, but obviously getting quite dark as that storm moves in, Anthony.
And they just had a big wind shift there. You get the wind really picked up on the Founders Bridge. The flags were rolling right out of the south, and then you had an immediate change, and now they're right out of the west as this moves through. So really seeing that wind direction change there. It is a green, teal-looking sky as that rain gets a little bit closer. And can you guys switch this over to, there you go, the Yard Goats camera. And if you guys are able to just kind of pan that over to the left, to the right a little bit more, and you can see what looks to be a little bit of that wall-looking cloud there as well. The rain, the sheet of rain on the left side of your screen, and then you can see as we look out into the distance there, looks like that rain has really moved in pretty quickly, though. You can see it just, the visibility starting to decrease at a good clip there. Can you jump back to the downtown camera? East Hartford looking to downtown. You can see, there you go. The visibility really becoming poor there as the heaviest of that rain works its way through the state. Still not looking like a good velocity signature for any kind of tornado, but definitely still some gusty winds. And you were able to see the flags not that long ago, but that rain has really moved in pretty quickly. Another spot, as we're taking a look around the state, if you guys want to jump to the New Haven camera, that also looks to be pretty ominous there with that line of storms kind of off into the distance as well. You guys will end up seeing those storms move in pretty soon. We saw some of those storms move through Bridgeport. It looks like there's some pretty gusty winds out on Long Island Sound, but as far as what we're seeing in Connecticut itself, let's go back to, if you guys can switch this over to Max C, and I'll kind of take control here a little bit. So this is what I'm kind of looking at right now. So if we talk about the New Haven area, seeing the greatest of those storms just to the northwest of New Haven, so getting closer to Route 15 there, and as that gets meets up with 91, Hamden, Wallingford, you guys are just starting to see the rainfall there. Naugatuck, it's pouring where you guys are, and of course there's plenty of thunder and lightning to go along with it all as well. This moves all the way up through Bristol, New Britain, Hartford, Windsor, and of course we are seeing very heavy rainfall right now in downtown Hartford. If you guys want to go back to that downtown camera, this is looking west. This is looking right through downtown, but it is very hard to make out the Hartford skyline there at all. Just one building and a couple of the lights at the river park there. And that's about it. Looks like we're starting to see a little bit more, but very heavy rainfall moving through that part of the state. And it looks like we now have a new severe thunderstorm warning with that line just pushing further to the east. So now a new severe thunderstorm warning includes portions of the eastern half of Tolland County and the western half of Windham County as well. So keeping an eye on that line of storms just working its way further to the east. We'll see how the line moving just outside of New Haven to Wallingford, how that kind of progresses, if we'll end up getting a severe thunderstorm warning for the other half of New Haven County, as well as the portions of Middlesex County. So we'll see how that line moves for the southern half of the state. But right now, a new severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Tolland and now Windham counties. This will continue. Let's see if I can get time on this one. This will continue until 4:45. And something to note too, Ryan, is that they're continuing with that tornado possible tag as well. I think there's just still a good bit of wind shear here. So they're not ruling out an isolated tornado. I think what we've been seeing so far, there's still not the best velocity signature here, which is great news for us. But definitely still some breezier conditions and plenty of heavy rainfall as well.
Yeah, for sure. And if we switch back over to Max A, check out all the lightning we've got from this. A real prolific lightning producer here. You can really see where this line of storms is, that's for sure. Let's take a look at how much lightning we've seen. This is in the last 15 minutes or so, about 136 lightning strikes across Connecticut. So a lot of lightning here, and there's that new severe thunderstorm warning. With these storms, the line of storms extends from the Mass border all the way down to the Sound, but there's the two specific areas where it looks like we've got a more heightened severe weather potential. One of them is moving out of downtown Hartford, heading into Manchester and East Hartford. If you look closely, you can see sort of a subtle signature here where you have a backwards C right over the Connecticut River now, moving east of the river. And so that's one area that would give you a damaging wind threat in Manchester as this moves in. Sometimes, effectively, what happens is as the wind blows, it can sort of force the whole line to sort of a line of storms to bulge out where that wind is the strongest. That gives you the potential for strong winds. So the wind is doing something like this, and you get that more concentrated area of strong wind. So we'll be watching that. And the other area that I'm watching farther to the south, this one is heading toward Meriden. It's over Cheshire right now. Same deal. It's right over downtown Cheshire, doing something along the lines of this. Another little protrusion here where you have the potential for some stronger wind heading toward Wallingford and Meriden there. So we'll be keeping an eye on both of those areas, Anthony, as the storm continues off to the east.
Yeah, and it looks like too, so I'm looking at the Boston radar again, and it definitely looks like there's that good burst of wind. We almost saw that wall cloud looking that shape that kind of moved into the north end and then over the river. And there looks to be a good burst of wind essentially between East Windsor and East Hartford. Looks like that just crossed the river there. And that could be moving further east. So like you mentioned, Ryan, so places like Manchester, you guys are going to be up next. And take a look, Ryan, the Boston radar there, picking up not necessarily like a couplet, but definitely a different change in wind direction just a little bit.
Yeah, on the northern side.
That northern side a little bit, just to the north of Windsor there.
Little bookend vortex trying to form there. But yeah, I mean, that's
a couple little notches
too. Expect to see there on the leading edge of that system. So again, severe thunderstorm warnings in effect from the Mass border all the way down to Long Island Sound. We'll put this into motion for you so you can see the trend here. The storm's moving to the east. Radar is not overly impressive at the moment, but the strongest storm for sure right over Windsor and East Hartford and South Windsor. And on the southern side of that storm, you've got the potential for some damaging winds. So Manchester could see some winds, I'd say, up to about 60 miles an hour, and that's why we've got that severe thunderstorm warning in effect because of that damaging wind potential. So South Windsor, Manchester, maybe even heading into East Windsor as well. We'll be keeping an eye on that. as this line moves in. But overall, and this is good news here, the tornado potential seems pretty low at the moment. The storms earlier that were showing stronger signs of rotation have fizzled out. And as these storms move to the east, that was sort of the expectation even from yesterday, that as these storms move to the east, the threat for tornadoes would begin to wane. And that's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at now.
Definitely. And even some of the things that I'm looking at, again, with the Boston radar for places like Stafford, Summers, you know, you're right on that leading edge of the storms there. There's tries to get a little squirrely at times, but there's still no good signature there. Definitely still potentially some gustier winds in East Hartford with that main line. Now the heaviest of that rain kind of moving through, and then like Ryan mentioned, Manchester, eventually Bolton, Coventry. You guys got to keep an eye out for that. Something that Ryan mentioned too, and we were kind of talking about this before, but the amount of lightning that we've seen, just an incredible amount of lightning, even looping this back, it's just been a really good amount. Of course, again, lightning's not your parameter for determining severe storms, but it's definitely a hazard for sure. Looks like, okay, that was a... and you can actually hear a little bit of thunder here at the station now. We're getting our computers... dinging a little bit, talking about some of the storms going on in Mass, and even through New Hampshire, there have a couple of good storms that have been rotating a little bit more, but still across Connecticut, not the best signature if we're talking about tornadoes. Definitely still a few areas could see some bursts of wind for sure, but I think we're doing better shape. And like Ryan mentioned too, even going back to yesterday, the day before, the primary severe threat as far as that tornado threat was really north and west of Hartford, and we saw that verified today. We'll see just how these storms continue as we go through the rest of this afternoon, as we head through this evening as well. Of course, that severe thunderstorm watch, most of Connecticut with the exception of New London County, so just that also goes to show weakening as it moves further to the east. So we'll see how all of that shapes up there for us as we go through this evening. But yeah, not the best signature right now as far as any of the radar goes, but definitely still heavy rainfall now just outside of downtown Hartford. So again, places like East Hartford, Manchester, up through South Windsor, and just in around the Windsor area as well. All of that working its way, I would say, closer to Vernon, Rockville, Broadbrook, again, Manchester, then eventually Bolton as well.
Anthony, we're watching these storms move through. Just saw Brainerd Airport in Hartford only gusting to 29 knots. So at least for the time being, looks like these storms are struggling a little bit. Let's go back to the green screen now, and we can with Max A.
This is an NBC Connecticut Storm Tracker alert.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Hanrahan. Want to update you on the storms that are moving through the state. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings in effect now from northeastern Connecticut right on down toward the New Haven area. These storms have been weakening a little bit as they've moved east. We do know there are reports of damage, some trees down across portions of western Hartford County, Litchfield County. Bristol reported some trees down as well. And again, here's that line of thunderstorms moving east. Let's track it for you. There is the potential for strong winds, certainly lightning and heavy rain. Strong winds the main threat as these storms move to the east. But again, some sign that they're beginning to weaken a little bit. Storms will head into Middletown shortly. North Branford 414, Mansfield 433, Haddam 435, Colchester 451, and Wyndham at 5 o'clock. So again, that's that line of thunderstorms. Give you a closer look at where some of the stronger storms are, and the strongest storm we've got in the state at the moment, moving through Manchester and South Windsor, about to head into portions of Vernon and Ellington. So right along 84, not too far from the Buckland Hills, well, actually right over the Buckland Hills Mall, up toward Evergreen Walk in South Windsor. A real nasty line of thunderstorms moving through. Heavy rain, strong winds, and the potential for quite a bit of lightning with these storms. Let's take a look outside if we can throw up the Hartford camera or the Duncan camera so I can show you these storms as they move on through. The storm is now into downtown Hartford, the storm moving through. Heavy rain. There was some gusty wind, but at least right now, no reports of any damage here in Hartford. As we go back over to the there's some lightning there in Hartford. Another view there from Duncan Park looking off to the east toward the center of that storm over toward East Windsor. So again, quite a bit of lightning with these storms. I'll show you this. We've seen hundreds of lightning strikes today, and the worst of that lightning right over the Hartford area moving to the east. At least for the time being, these storms are showing some signs of weakening. So some good news. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for all of Connecticut. We had a tornado warning earlier up into Litchfield County, but that has expired. And at least right now, no areas of concern with rotation or tornado. So hopefully it stays that way. Of course, if something changes, we're going to let you know right here on NBC Connecticut. And our streaming coverage continues on the NBC Connecticut app, NBCConnecticut.com, or wherever you stream us on your TV. We've got updates for you with continuous coverage. We'll be here all afternoon as necessary. Stay safe, stay weather aware, and we'll see you for a full report coming up at 6 o'clock. And we're continuing our coverage here on NBCConnecticut.com, the NBC Connecticut app, and on your favorite streaming platforms for the storm that's moving on through. We've got heavy rain, lightning, and there has been some damage reports coming on through. We had a tornado warning earlier from this thunderstorm, but as the storms have moved east, we certainly have seen some signs of weakening with these thunderstorms. And we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect now for Hartford, Tolland, and Windham counties, but that is the only warning in effect. The warnings to the south have been canceled. The storms have weakened there. And right now, not looking at a whole lot in terms of the storms sort of struggling as they move east, Anthony.
Yeah, and it's, we've been keeping an eye on the power outages too, Ryan. So it looks like from Collinsville, Canton, Avon, and we actually lost power here at the station. We're actually on generator power right now. So even West Hartford seeing some outages as well. And I've also noticed that east of the river a little bit, now we're starting to get some outage reports. Only looks like a couple outages there, but just east of the river in East Hartford, and just cross the river from Brainerd Airport there. But we've been noticing, especially through sections of western Connecticut, so going through places like just to the south of Torrington, seeing some more of those areas of outages there just from all that wind. Now, as we go through, take a live look at Waterbury, we're actually starting to see behind those storms there, and we're going to keep an eye. Actually, Ryan, could you jump to the downtown Hartford camera? That kind of shows where we're still seeing some more of those storms that have just been working their way through. The visibility has actually improved. If you're just joining us, you might go, oh, that's still pretty bad, but you couldn't see anything not that long ago. So it looks like the heaviest of those downpours have moved east of the river. But that's something that we're still just going to keep an eye on there as we go through this evening. And these storms will continue to push their way further off to the east. We now have that severe thunderstorm warning going all the way to portions of Windham County. That will continue through portions of tonight as well. So we'll see just how long this goes to. It goes to about 4:45, and we'll see how the winds are doing, because we were talking about, we were seeing some storms from earlier this afternoon. Didn't have the best signature when we're talking about tornadoes, and it's still looking like that. So that is some good news for us. Still not looking like the best signature as far as the potential for tornadoes. I still don't want to rule that out, but I think my gut is telling me for the most part, I think we're pretty much out of it as far as that threat goes. But we can still have the potential for some very gusty winds with these thunderstorms, and those can still cause, definitely can still cause some damage for us. But we're taking a look here at the radar velocity.